Chantel, hola.
Hola.
¿Cómo estás?
No me puedo quejar.
Can I trick my brain into learning Spanish in just 60 days? This is me at the beginning of my journey. I couldn't speak a word of Spanish and had never studied the language before.
Paso, vuelo.
However, I became captivated by a few Spanish Netflix shows and fell in love with the characters.
So why even learn Spanish anyway? I thought it would be such a beautiful and useful language to learn since it's spoken in many countries around the world.
I binge watched a few polyglots on YouTube and came to the conclusion that I needed to learn Spanish.
I want to share with you my 60-day experience, my very real 60-day experience of learning Spanish through an online learning platform. And it's not through apps, it's not through books, but it's specifically through learning through a group learning session with a native speaking Spanish teacher online.
Chantel, objeto.
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 Muy bien. Chicos, digan hola.
Hola. Hola, Carla.
Hola.
Hola, Chantel.
Dios.
Hola, Chantel.
Ah,
Tu pelo, Chantelito.
I was determined to learn Spanish in just 60 days, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. As I began my journey, I was excited and nervous all at the same time. The first few days were a bit overwhelming as I struggled to grasp even the most basic phrases.
Uno, baño.
Please
Dos,
write it in the chat.
violín.
But I kept pushing myself, determined to succeed. The first step of my journey was signing up for Spanish VIP. The online platform promised group immersive lessons that were tailored to my level and goals. I was excited to get started, but I was also a bit intimidated. Could I really learn a new language in just 60 days? As I began my lessons, I quickly realized that the key to success was consistency. I made sure to study for at least an hour every day, practicing my new vocabulary and grammar rules, and over time, I began to see some progress. One of the things I loved about Spanish VIP was the variety of learning materials that were available. There were interactive lessons, group learning, and even games to help us practice our skills. And because the classes were group learning, I was able to learn without pressure in a group setting.
Chantel, ¿sabes una profesión?
Policía.
Policía, ¿sí?
Sí.
Okay, so that is the strong sound with A, O, and U. Casa, coco, cuerda, cama. Always, it doesn't matter the position. Always it sounds like that. But with E or I, it changes. We have a pronunciation in Latin America, and in Spain, they have another. Okay, as you can see, this is the phoneme of each one.
But even with this resource, learning Spanish was still a challenge. I struggled with verb conjugations and pronunciation, and sometimes I felt like giving up. But every time I felt discouraged, I reminded myself of why I started this journey in the first place. I wanted to be able to speak Spanish, to connect with people from different cultures, and expand my horizons. And as the 60 days came to a close, I was amazed at how much progress I had made. I could hold basic conversations in Spanish, read and write in the language, and even understand more Spanish TV series. It was an incredible feeling and one that I would have never have achieved without the help of Spanish VIP.
Ordenador. Before starting my Spanish VIP journey, I had always wanted to learn Spanish because it sounded like a really beautiful language, but I never had the time or motivation to do it. It's easy to pick up an app like Duolingo and get into the gamification of playing the app and playing the game, but then after a while, maybe if you lose your streaks, it might get boring and you might forget about it, and then you lose learning the language. So having a consistent class that you have to show up to every single day and that you've actually booked and it's timed in your calendar, that actually gets you to show up to class, and it brings in that extra motivation that you need to stay consistent with. And another thing, one of the great things about using Spanish VIP is that there are unlimited lessons. So technically you could go to lessons all day long, but I'm sure you don't have enough time for that. I never knew any Spanish from the beginning. I just knew the basic word like hello, goodbye, thank you, please. And that was my base knowledge of Spanish going into the 60 days. So I've never taken Spanish before. When I went to school, I did French. So I've never actually done Spanish. So learning as a complete beginner has been really difficult, but it's been a progress, and it's been really good for me to learn from that basic level. And what I like about Spanish VIP is that they don't just have one level like for beginners. They have beginners, intermediates, and then advanced classes, so that you can go ahead and pick the class that works for you and whatever level that you need to be at. I like that in Spanish VIP that you go through all of the different lessons, and it really teaches you about the grammar and the way that you need to use words and why you're using them, rather than other experiences that I've had where I've tried to learn languages on apps, where you go through it and you sort of learn these set phrases where you learn how to parrot out the language, rather than being able to construct your own sentences and to be able to express your feelings. You need to be able to understand how to put sentences together, and you need to understand the grammar and the structure of a sentence. You're going in depth. You're learning at a slower pace. It's not fast. You're not going to learn some set phrases that you're going to start being able to have a conversation with straight away. But what you are learning is the basics that covers lots of different things within the grammar and the vocabulary that you need to learn as a complete beginner, or if you're advanced or intermediate. Another thing that I really loved about the lessons is that at the end of the lesson they would send you the lesson screen slides, so you could actually flip through them and have a look at them at home by yourself, so you can revise them, and you would have that every single day after you'd booked a lesson, which was great. And another thing is that they had interactive quizzes. It was really interactive. You talked to the teacher, they corrected your pronunciation.
Ok, Chantel, ¿recuerdas este?
In
Es
here,
similar.
in here, in here, no? No.
Ingeniero.
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 And I don't think you can get that kind of feedback back from just using an app or just reading something. So it is really, really useful to have a tutor, but then you don't have the expensive cost of having to pay a private tutor. If you're someone who's always wanted to learn Spanish but you never knew how to start, this is exactly where you need to be. Because Spanish VIP is going to be able to keep you consistent, and it's also going to be able to keep you motivated. Having a native Spanish speaking teacher is so helpful, and it's a lot cheaper than using individual one-to-one lessons. But with private lessons, they're a little bit more expensive. I've worked out that doing the group sessions are a whole lot cheaper. Este es lo que aprendí en 60 días estudiando español con Spanish VIP. Mi nombre es Chantel y vivo en Inglaterra. Mis pasatiempos favoritos son dibujar, leer, cocinar y bailar. Los miércoles voy a clase de baile y es muy divertido. Todas las noches de la semana soy muy productiva y estudiando español con Spanish VIP.
In the end, I learned that there were no shortcuts to learning Spanish. It takes hard work, effort, and willingness to make mistakes and keep trying. But with the right tools and resources like Spanish VIP, anything is possible. So if you're ready to take on the challenge of learning Spanish, I encourage you to give it a try. You never know what you might accomplish.